What's up? It's Whitney, bro, and today we're going to get into this creative, colorful look inspired by Cam on TikTok. I'm going to put her information right here so you can check her out, and I will show you a little clip of the video that I was inspired by. Of course, mine is as close of a recreation as I could get, not exact because we have different face shapes, different eye shapes, but I did recreate her base makeup as well, although that's not a part of her tutorial video. I figured it'd be a fun addition. So if that sounds interesting to you or you want to see how I created this eye look, we're going to go ahead and jump right on in. I'm using the bperfect Carnival 3 and the bperfect Perfect Prime eyeshadow for this look. I'll probably end up using the Surge palette a little bit by Blend Bunny Cosmetics, just depending on the shades, because as you saw in the intro, I am recreating an eye look that someone else did. So I'm going to try to recreate her whole look, like base included. Just taking that primer, and I'm going to put quite a bit on because we are doing a colorful look. I will put the look on the screen, but I just want quite a bit because I really want my shadows to grip onto the primer very nicely. They definitely will. They always do, but I recommend going heavy on the primer if you're using colorful eyeshadow. It's just kind of a good rule of thumb. Okay, so firstly, we're going to make sure everything's nice and blended. And I'm going to go into the shade The Deep in the Carnival 3 palette. And I am just taking that on an Essence Smoky Eyes brush. It's just this kind of domed pencil brush. And do it about halfway. And I'm just patting. Put a little bit more on the brush for the bottom part. I'm going to rest my eye and just check where that's sitting. It does look like it's sitting in the right place. So, and then I'm just going to use the rest of the product on the brush and just kind of keep gently tapping. And then I'm going to go through on the edges and just gently tap to make sure there's not any harsh edges and we're not blending out a staunch edge. No extra product at this point, basically just tapping. And once we're happy with that shade, we're going to move on to the green. We're going to use a similar dome-shaped brush, and I'm going to go into the shade Forest right here. She used a Blend Bunny palette in her tutorial video, but I don't have that palette, so we're working with what we got. I think I might have done the blue a little too far over. I think she might have had more green right here, but fuck it, we ball. So now I'm going to go in and just tap the edges of this to make it a little less harsh. And I basically do that by just going half on, half off. I'm going to go in with this lighter blue shade right here called, I was trying to read it backwards, Lagoon, the shade right here. And I'm just doing that on this kind of brush shape. I don't really know what you call it. This is from the Hip Dot and My Chemical Romance collab, so the first one. But we're just going to go half on, half off, same thing that we did to pat the edges out. And we're just going to go half on, half off with this lighter blue. And pat the edges. And I think I'm going to have to go into the Surge palette to get an even lighter blue to blend this out because this blue is looking very similar on the eye to that other blue. I mean, you can see the slight gradation, but it's not quite the difference I was going for. So I'm going to go in with the Sigma E27, which is a nice mix between a fluffy brush and a packing brush. And I'm going to take that in the shade Key Lime right here. I think I used too deep of a green shade to start, so we're going to just keep blending and hope for the best. And I'm kind of blending downward so that that darker green isn't coming up. We want the harsh line to blend out, but we want it to blend out downward so that it isn't expanding where the dark area is. But basically, I'm going to just keep doing this a bunch of times, so I'm not going to show it on camera because it's going to be boring. I'm going to go into the shade right here called Tropics, which is a lighter green, with my Sigma E42. And what we're going to do with this, I'm just putting the teeniest amount on this, and I'm going to kind of blend in between that lighter shade and the darker shade just so we can try to get rid of that line that's happening here. So I'm basically going to put it right on the line. I'm going to put it right on top of the line, and then I'm going to come back in with that lighter shade and try to blend that out, and I think that's going to help that line not be so harsh. More product on the E27, and as you can see, that blend is improving. So we're going to jump over to the blue eye before I keep obsessing over the blue eye, the blue part of the eye, before I keep obsessing over the green part. Okay, so we're going to jump into the Surge palette from Blend Bunny Cosmetics, and we're going to go into the shade Energy right here, and we're just going to use that to blend out. I'm using a Sigma E45, and we're just going to go do the same thing. We're just going to pat this all around the blue. Not doing a whole lot of blending yet, literally just patting. And we're just going to go in and make small circular motions and blend out that blue that we just placed. We're going to go back in with the first shade, the Deep, and just re-establish that. And then we're going to go back into that second shade, Lagoon, and just use that to blend into the lightest shade. This part is a lot of back and forth, so again, I'm not going to show every single step on camera because it's a lot of repetition. So I'm going to go in with that same Perfect Prime eyeshadow base and cut the crease. So I'm going to start by doing the age-old trick for hooded eyes, which is placing the eyeshadow base at the lowest point of your lid and then relaxing your lid and kind of letting it touch, because that'll tell me the highest point that I need to go to so that you can actually see the cut crease when my eyes are relaxed. Cool. And I always go a little bit above that just to be on the safe side. And with cut creases, I kind of let the shape of the brush do the work and then come back in and refine it after. So we'll go ahead and do the easy part and fill it in. And I always do my cut crease a little bit wider than I intend to, because it's a little easier that way to blend it in, and then you know you're not going to be cutting off where you wanted to place your shadows with that darker shade that you're going to blend into the cut crease. So we're going to go in and start building those colors up. So the first one is the deep. So I'm just going to take this on that same first brush that we used and just pat it in place on the outside of the cut crease first. Just because I did have some open space where that shade was not applied. And then we're just going to go in and start doing gentle circular motions. Okay, so she just does a little bit and then she goes in with the light blue. So we're going to go in with the light blue. I'm not working with the exact shade she had, so mine might end up looking a teeny bit different, but I'm going to do it as close to the source material as I possibly can. She goes in next with what looks like a teal, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use this shade right here called Reef out of the Carnival 3 palette. It looks like it's the same color. So that's, in person it doesn't. On camera right now it looks like it's the same color. The next shade she goes into is like a pastel-y kind of yellow. I don't know that I have anything like that in my collection, but I am going to... I think I do have one in the Feet on the Ground palette from Mitchell. I think I'm just going to use this shade right here called Our Kid, which I don't think you can get this palette anymore, but you can't get the Surge palette anymore either, so whatever. Okay. This isn't exactly the smartest brush choice for what I'm doing right now, but it's working. You see the yellow. Okay, so we're going to go in and place the purple shade in the inner corner, which I'm going to use the shade Reckon. Oh. the shade Reckon. Recon. It's not even picking it up on camera. Right there. The shade Reckon. From the Surge palette. Recon. I feel like it's Spanish in this hair. Love T.S. Madison down. Okay. And I'm just using a beaky brush that's kind of a little angled dome. The other brush I was using before, I have no idea what it is. It was nameless and came in an Ipsy bag, and that was a long time ago, so I don't have like the little card thing that says what it was. So I decided instead of black, I'm going to go in with this shade right here in the Surge palette called Linger, which is just a really, really dark blue. And we're going to try that and see if that gives what I need it to give. And I'm going to go in with the other side of the Hip Dot My Chemical Romance brush. Yeah, because I don't know that I want it black, because part of me is afraid that black will be too much. Ooh, yes, that is giving the depth that the depth. That's giving the depth that I needed to give. Yeah, that's giving what I needed to give. And I'm going to go back in with the other side of that brush and use the second shade called Lagoon. And just blend the edges of this dark shade out. Gonna just use some windshield. Gonna just use some circular motions. I need to go back into the first shade we used called the Deep, and I just need to re-establish that in this cut crease. Okay, and then back into the lightest shade of blue, and we're gonna blend here. I really am liking how this is looking. All right, so I've got this eye built up to where I want it for right now before we add liner and lashes and the whole nine. So I'm gonna get this eye caught up, and I will see you guys back for the base. We're gonna do the rest of the look though in the same vein that she had her look. So she had a bright under eye, heavy blush with a beautiful pink highlight. So that's the vibe that we're gonna be going for. So I'm gonna, is this zoomed all the way out? There we go. I'm going to be using the Revolution Conceal and Define in the shade C6 for my under eye. You don't need that much, and then I proceed to use a lot. I don't want this to have too much coverage because I don't want the white to be like, ooh. So I am going to first blend it out with a powder puff, and then I'm going to go back over it with my foundation brush. And I'm going to go just over the edges of that with my foundation brush and just blend that to make sure that there's not any super harsh lines. She had a really pretty, very pinky bronzer, so I'm going to go into my Made by Mitchell Blursh in the shade Cowlick. And we're just going to put this on. This is really pigmented, so I really don't need like a lot of it. And we're just going to leave it there and see what that does as far as how it looks when it blends out and everything. So yeah, that might have even been too much. Gonna blend some of that off. Okay, we're just gonna keep blending and trust the process. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to take that same powder puff that I used to blend my concealer, and I'm just going to blend it right here to make that blush a little more seamless. I probably should have only done one dot of this, but you know, we live and we learn. We live and we learn. I do that every time I use this Cowlick shade. I'm like, oh, it's not that pigmented, because he has some blushes that you can use as much as I did, and it's not super duper pigmented, and you blend it out and it looks great. But then he has other shades like this one where you don't need to use that much. We're still going to bronze and everything though, so even though it looks a little batshit right now, we've still got a bronze and everything. So, but she had a very blushy look, so that's what we're going for. A bronzer I haven't used in a minute, especially on my channel, is the Soul Body Face and Body Bronzing Balm. This is scented so heavily like coconuts, but you can tell it's very well loved. Mine's in the shade Deep. I maybe could have gone a little bit lighter with this, but the swatches online when this first came out kind of made it look like that the shade right before this was not going to be deep enough for me. So I found this look on TikTok, as you guys will obviously see from the clip of it that I post, but I'm going to go follow this creator on her other platforms because I really like her makeup style, and I told her this was really pretty and that I was going to recreate it, and she was so sweet about it. Not that like that shouldn't be the expectation, but like some people are dicks, especially when they get, you know, when they start to have like several thousand people following her. I want to say she has like 15,000. It's like when you start to get up there in follower count, like over 10,000, people start to act different. They start to act like they're too good to speak to you or associate with you, and it's really frustrating. And I'm gently building this bronzer up. This bronzer is more pigmented than it looks like it is by how I'm applying it right now. I'm just gently building it up because I really don't want to have a point where there's so much product and it looks like who did it and why. So I'm trying to gently build that bronze up instead of having like a staunch line that I can't blend out. But this coconut scent is almost, I mean, I love it, so it's not overwhelming to me, but if you're not a fragrance person, defo going to be overwhelming to you. Because, like, it's on my desk away from me right now, and I can still smell it. I can smell it as I'm applying it. So, keep that in mind. And to reiterate, because I don't know that I've said this, I feel like it's obvious when I showed whose look I was recreating. This is not a everyday type of makeup. I mean, it could be if this is your style, do you? But for people looking for like everyday neutrals, that sort of thing, that's not what vibe this is. I do have other videos like that. You can click the little guy up here and check those out because I do have more relatable looks. But today we putting that shit on. I'm hoping Colorful Glam makes a comeback because that's what I like to see. It's what I like to watch. I'm just not. I mean, if it's some of my favorite creators, I'll watch them do more like neutral looks. But as far as like seeking content out, I'm a lot more drawn to color and uniqueness and really just different perspectives, honestly. And now we're going to go to the under eye before I finish the rest of the complexion because her base was already done when she started the look, so she was able to do the eyes all in one. But I do my base first in case I have any fallout. Do my base first. I do my base last whenever I do colorful makeup in case there's any fallout or I just get a little out of control with my blending, which we all know happens. So I'm going to zoom you guys back in. We're going to do the under eye. I fibbed. I'm going to powder. Then I'm going to zoom you guys back in. So for this look right here, lately I've been loving the e.l.f. Flawless Skin Trio, which is, I've been using the peach shade. I don't want to use the peach shade right now because I'm afraid it's going to tint my under eyes peach and take away some of that brightening effect from this lighter tone. There is a pink one in there I could use. Maybe I'll try the pink one. Let's do the pink one because they use pink on lighter skin tones and it supposedly brightens the under eyes. So we're going to try the pink one. Okay, so I'm going to try the pink one by itself. I've tried it mixing all three of the shades together, but I've never tried the pink on its own. So here's the pink powder. It looks very intensely pink, which kind of frightens me. But this is supposed to be for like all skin tones, so we're going to find out. Ooh, it brightened it even more. Hello. I don't mind that pink shade. I like the peach more for my skin tone. The pink seems a little too... For what I'm doing right now, it works, but on my regular, like, everyday routine, I don't think I would care for the pink. So I'm going to go back into my Blend Bunny palette, and I'm going to be using the shades... I'm going to use the shade Beckon that I used before in the inner corner. I'm going to use that as the final shade. But first, I'm going to go in with this shade right here called Stay. This might not be a deep enough purple, so I think I'm going to go in the shade Covet. Yeah, I'm going to use the shade Covet. And then we're going to go into the Beckon shade and just use that to blend out any harsh edges of this purple. I'm going to line my lids enough that I can put lashes on. So, yeah. And I'm going to use the NYX Epic Ink. Mine's in pink packaging because it was like a limited edition set for something. I can't exactly remember what, but it was a limited edition set, and because of that, this was like half price, which I would buy at full price anyway. But when I saw that this was half price, I was like, absolutely. And her look, she also had a pastel yellow liner. I don't have any pastel yellow liners, but I do have a pastel green that kind of can lean yellow. And I'm going to go ahead and do highlighter. And I have the perfect highlighter that matches hers. And it was from this indie brand called Neela Beauty. I don't think they exist anymore, sadly. But I still have this highlighter that is this beautiful, I don't know if it's going to show on camera. It'll show once I apply it. So we'll just apply it. But it's a beautiful shifty pink shade. And it's going to match exactly how hers looked. She did put a shimmer here and a shimmer on the inner corner, but I really like how matte the look is. So for mine, I'm not going to add the shimmer. And I love it because it's like invisible from the front, and then boom, there's this gorgeous pink highlight. Love that highlight. So I am going to do my lashes off camera really quick just because I can't do lashes while recording. I make a lot of ugly faces. I move my face. It doesn't work out. So I'm going to do my lashes and we'll be back for lips. I apologize if my lighting is different. The sun decided to shine when it wasn't the whole rest of the time I was recording. So that's what's going on with that if the lighting looks different. But she did a cool tone lip, so we're going to go ahead and follow suit and also do a cool toned lip. I'm going to start with a couple of lip liners and then we'll get into the lipstick. So first one I'm going to use is the NYX Slide On Glide. What's this called? Slide On, Glide On, Stay On, and definitely a turn on waterproof eyeliner. They don't make a brown that's as dark as I want it to be, so I use the eyeliner. And I'm going to attempt to overline my lips, attempt being the key word. Okay, so then I'm going to go on the edges of that with the LA Girl Perfect Precision Liner in the shade Sugar and Spice. And I'm just using this to help blend out that other liner. So we're going to use the Melt Bullet Lipstick in the shade Paris Fling. Ooh, she's cool toned. She's very cool toned. I think I'm going to do the same thing I did last video and use the can soft matte lip cream and just warm that up a teeny bit. Nothing too warm, but just enough that it's a little bit warm. I hope you guys had fun doing it with me. I certainly had fun digging back into eyeshadow, doing a more colorful look again. It's been a long time since I've done one of these. Don't know that I've ever done one on my channel since I've been active again. And I will definitely be doing more of these because this reminded me why I love makeup in the first place. The process, the blending, the experimentation. So grateful to those of you who watched it to this point. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really does help me and the algorithm. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!